Good afternoon and welcome. This session is focused on IDNs, implementations, challenges, and opportunities. We're organizing this as a workshop. A great deal of thanks goes to ICT Qatar, who actually pulled this the concept together and worked with the various speakers and got them all together. So thank you to ICT Qatar for making this happen. Just a preamble. My name is Ram Mohan. I'm going to be the moderator of this session. In a few minutes, we'll just go around the table and we'll introduce the various speakers here. Just to set the context, while the online content landscape is changing, the estimate is that more than 60% of the internet's content are in languages other than English. However, English is still widely used by internet users. The fact is that as the internet is evolving and the peoples of the world are starting to use the internet, the internationalization of the internet becomes a really important challenge and a really critical issue, not only for access and diversity, but also for fundamental communication amongst people in their own languages. The objectives of this workshop are threefold. One is to present the status of IDN implementations. The second is to have the various participants express a bit of the challenges that they faced in their implementations as they went forward with implementing IDNs. And moving forward, what are the best practices? What are the lessons that we have learned that might be leverageable across multiple languages, multiple scripts around the world? So with that as a preamble, let me just briefly introduce the various speakers here in today's workshop. Let me start with Baher. Baher Esmat is the Manager Regional Relations for Middle East for ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. Baher is part of the global partnerships team, and when just before Baher starts speaking, I will go through a little longer introduction. To my right is Jian Zhang. She is General Manager for the APTLD, the Asia Pacific Top-Level Domains Association, and she has extensive experience in the domain name industry, in ICT, and is one of the experts in the Asia Pacific region when it comes to IDN implementations. Irina Daniela is also to my right, and she works with the Policy and Procedures Development for the Coordination Center for the .ru TLD. And she has been in that role for more than a year now, and it just coincided with the internationalization of the RU TLD, and it's going live using the Cyrillic script. To my left here is Mohammed Al-Bashir. He's a manager for numbering and internet domains for ICT Qatar, and Mohammed played a very key role in helping pull this entire workshop together, so thank you for that. And Mohammed actually manages Qatar's national numbering plan and the .qa as well as the Qatar, the IDN top-level domain for Qatar. Over to my right is Suleiman Baksh. Suleiman is a senior ICT analyst with the Telecommunication Regulation Authority for the United Arab Emirates, and he is a senior information and communications technologies analyst. Further to my right is Tanya Ling from CNNIC, the China Internet Network Information Center. And Tan has been very active in IDNs for quite a long while, and also in the area of internet governance, and he's here to share his experiences with IDNs. just a couple of words about myself. My name is Ram Mohan. I'm Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Affiliates Limited, a top-level domain registry provider. My company provides services both in for country code top-level domains as well as for global GTLDs, global top-level domains. I also serve the community as the liaison to the ICANN board from the Security and Stability Advisory Committee. I've been involved in IDNs for about, I guess, 10, 12 years now, and have had the honor and the pleasure of working with the various countries and the various participants here. So with that as a brief introduction, let me move the microphone over to Baher. Baher Esmat is part of ICANN's Global Relationships team, where he manages relationships with ICANN stakeholders in the Middle East. Baher joined ICANN in February 2006 from the Egyptian Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, where he served since 2002. And when Baher was with the Egyptian ministry, his responsibilities included projects relating to telecommunication infrastructures and internet services. And Baher has actually participated in the growth of the internet in Egypt, not just from a telecommunications perspective, but also from helping the country develop policies, and most recently on the ICANN role, helping Egypt get its country code live on the internet. So without further ado, over to you, Baher.
Thank you, Ram. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to give a quick update on IDNs from ICANN's perspective. In particular, I'm going to touch upon three areas. One is the IDN fast track program. The other one is policies that are currently underway in relation to IDN and IDN developments at the top level. And the third area is a project that is currently underway by a number of community members on what we call IDN variants. And I'm going to speak about this weird term variants in a few minutes. So to start with the fast track, so this is the process that allowed countries and territories to get their country code top-level domains in their native languages. That process started as a policy process back in 2007, and it was approved and implemented in November 2009. And today, after more or less 2 years of the launching, we have 30 IDN TLDs or ccTLDs in the route, representing 20 different countries, and there are more in the pipelines as well. So these are the list of countries that got their IDNs. You can see there are a variety of languages and scripts. Some countries got more than one TLD because they have more than one official language or script. As said, there are some countries that got their IDN strings approved, and they're yet waiting to complete the what we call the IANA delegation process. So this is in a nutshell what happened in the past year or so. Part of the fast track process is a review process to look into the program over a year time. So this review process started in October last year, and it lasted for 3 months. It was a public process where people and organizations submitted their comments and views on the fast track process, what went well, what went wrong, what needs to be changed. Basically, the comments were revolving around a number of issues. I'll go quickly through them, like community support. Some noted that there was sort of confusion between the requirements in terms of community support in the fast-track application process vis-a-vis the community support required for the IANA delegation process. So that was one thing that some community members have noted. Others said that the process of evaluating and assessing the string itself, the IDN string itself, and whether it may have any confusing similarity issues with existing TLDs or with potential two-letter code TLDs. Some people thought that this process needs further discussion. There were also different views on the transparency of the process. So while some thought that the process was transparent enough and was also preserving some level of confidentiality for the applicant because the application is not made public before the string itself is being evaluated and approved. Others thought that the whole application should be public from day one, even before the evaluation process gets started. One comment was about disputes and objections. Currently, the fast-track process does not have any dispute or objection mechanisms, so that was one comment. Other comments were in relation to the IDN tables and the fact that there isn't a process in place by which IANA or ICANN could validate or approve or consider that those tables are valid or not. Some also raised the issue of the IDN varianting, and just to explain quickly what IDN variance, what variance means, I must say in the beginning that there isn't a one universal definition of what in technical terms of what variants are. Basically, when we say that two DNS labels are variants to each other, this could mean that they may look similar or identical to each other, or they may look different, but they mean the same thing. In the end, the owner of this domain label, whether it's a second-level domain or top-level domain, this owner wants to treat this domain the same way. It's for the owner of the domain, it's one thing. And this is something that I'm going to address in a bit of detail in few minutes. So this is about the fast track. On the policy side, and maybe before getting to the policy side, I must say that when we talk about IDNs, we talk about both GTLDs and ccTLDs. So the IDN ccTLDs have been launched 2 years ago, as I said. The IDN GTLDs will be part of the new GTLD program that will be launched on January 12th, 2012. So on the policy side of the thing, the country code name supporting organization of ICANN, CCNSO, have been working on two key policy working groups in relation to IDN ccTLDs. One is the one that looks into the longer term policy of IDN ccTLDs. They look at the fast track process, and they discuss whether there are issues, whether there are policies that are part of the fast track and may require some reconsideration and or some change. So they're looking into the issues in relation to languages, in relation to countries, the fact that a country can get one string per country per script or language, if this is something that needs to be changed. They're looking into that the string itself has to be meaningful, means that it has to indicate the name of the country, whether this needs to change or not, and so on and so forth. So this is one policy activity that is currently taking place. The other policy working group is looking into the modalities of the CCNSO and the mechanism by, so currently the CCNSO accepts membership from ccTLDs, from country code top-level domains. And before the IDN or the IDNs came to existence, each country or territory got only one ccTLD, means one member at the CCNSO. So with the IDNs and with the fact that some countries and territories may have more than one IDN ccTLD, this condition may not be valid anymore. So this is an example of the things that this working group is looking at. And in addition to that, there is also a study group that was created recently that is looking into the issue of country names as TLDs. And this is an issue that has been subject of discussion and debate within ICANN, particularly within CCNSO and the GAC for the past couple of years. And what this study group is intended to do is to look into the current policies for allocation of country names as TLDs. And one of the things that is worth mentioning here is that the new GTLD program is going to ban the use of country names as GTLDs in its first round. That is going to start in January 2012. But going forward, this may change. Then the policy bodies and the policy groups within ICANN needs to look into this and to discuss what's going to change in this perspective. And one of the things this study group is attempting to do is to try to come up with a typology of country names, try to come up with different categories of country and territory names, like official names, like short names, like maybe popular names that used on a local level, like names in different languages, like the 6 UN formal languages or maybe more, like how to deal with, so today Egypt got its IDN ccTLD in Arabic. Okay, who's going to be qualified to get the Chinese TLD for Egypt, for instance? So these are the kind of things that this study group is going to discuss. The third and last item on my presentation today is this project on the IDN variant issues. So the board, the ICANN board, had directed staff to look into this issue and try to identify what are the issues and what are the possible implications that may result from delegating or allocating variant TLDs. So ICANN had consulted with the community and established as part of the project, established 6 case studies that will look into, or actually that have been looking into the variant issues. So we have Arabic, Chinese, Cyrillic, Devanagari, Greek, and Latin case studies, and those case studies have been working for the past 4 months on 2 things. One is to identify what the issues are, and the other thing is to come up with an agreed upon terminology or glossary of terms, because one of the problems that some people are facing with the variant issues is that different people and different language communities or script communities, they use different terminology. So there's an attempt to try to come up with one glossary of terms in this regard. So the outcome of this phase of the project is for each case study team to come up with an issues report in which they're going to identify the issues and to list the definitions, and then there will be a sort of one report for the whole project, integrating the different outcomes of the different case studies. Where we are right now with regard to this project, we've already started the project, and working sessions have been going on since June, and in a couple of days, case study teams are supposed to come up with their issues report, and then there will be a meeting at the ICANN Dakar meeting end of October for the 6 case study teams to come together and to discuss how they're going to work on the final report, which is due in mid-December this year. And with this, I'm done with my update, and I'll turn it over back to Ram. Thank you.
Thank you, Baher. I really appreciate it. It's a pretty comprehensive overview of significant work that is moving forward on IDNs, and we'll come back to some of the themes and some of the topics, when we get into a little bit of a panel discussion. Jian, let me ask you to provide your points of view, and the learning that you bring from the APTLD region. Before we go to Jian, let me just quickly introduce her. Jian Zhang is the General Manager of the Asia Pacific Top-Level Domain Association, the APTLD. Jian has extensive experience in the domain name and ICT industry. She's currently the General Manager of APTLD. She's actively involved in the Asia Pacific Internet community and is currently a board member of the Asia and Pacific Internet Association, APIA. Jian is also the first female executive council member of the Asia Pacific Network Information Center, APNIC, and the policy co-chair of APNIC. And she is also the current ICANN country code names supporting organization, the CCNSO counselor. And she was the director of international business development of CNNIC, which manages the .cn top-level domain, and was one of the key drivers on the IDN ccTLD fast-track process. And Jian, just my own personal experience, is not only a delightful person, but brings a great deal of policy knowledge and experience when it comes to IDN development. So with that, Jian, we're eager to hear what your perspective is.
Thank you, Ram. I wouldn't call myself, IDN expert, since so many people has been working on IDN for over a decade. But really, IDN is really a community joint effort. So today I'm going to talk about IDN from AP region's perspective. So first, I'm going to explain a little bit why we need IDN in AP region. And then I'm going to talk about IDN, as I said before, is really a community joint effort. And then what kind of role APTLD has played in IDN, and also current status of IDN in our region. Of course, the most important thing is the challenges we're facing ahead. So why IDN in our region? As many of you probably already know, Asia Pacific region is a region with the largest online population right now. And also, probably our region is the most diversified region because we have, so many cultures, languages, religions, not to mention we have all the models of governments, regimes. So we're really very diversified. And also, would you please come back? I didn't finish that one yet. Also, a large number of the population in Asia Pacific are not native English speakers. So as Ram mentioned before, you could see that's why English only internet is not viable anymore. So here's actually shows the maps. Next page, please. Of the Asia Pacific region according to ICANN standard. So, so actually our region not only included Asia and the Pacific, also the Middle East by definition, by ICANN definition, is included in our region. So now you have better understanding, why I said we're probably the most diversified region, in the world. And then why IDN brings the value? The first, as I said, language barrier is one of the bottlenecks for non-English speaker to fully access the internet. IDN makes it possible for non-English speakers to use their native language to connect to internet. So that definitely will help the internet penetration, especially in the developing countries. And also IDN has the commercial value because the local enterprise and also the foreign enterprise who wants to be localize their brands, could easily promote and make their website marketing more efficient if they use their IDN names. Next page, please. And also in our region, there are a lot of countries actually has very rich histories, like India, like China, like many countries in Middle East. They have a long history, which they're really proud of their culture, their history, definitely their languages. So IDN definitely could be used to promote their native culture and the languages. And also IDN has security value. It doesn't have, because IDN doesn't have letters and numbers confusion, so it will reduce the fake domain names or prevent phishing sites efficiently. So IDN is really a community joint effort. From the very beginning, Asia Pacific is a regions of IDN. Back to 1998, the Chinese community already started R&D on IDN, and also Arabic community started IDN around the same time in 2000. And then Chinese domain name consortium was formed in May 2000. And also there's a Arabic domain name consortium was founded in 2005. And then, several registries in the region start to do the test bed on IDN. And also a couple of RC standard was published on IDN, was published in IETF. And then by the 2008, community advocated a fast-track process for IDN ccTLD. And APTLD is the major advocate. And then ICANN started a policy development for fast-track process for IDN ccTLD in late 2007, and finally approved the implementation plan on 2009 and opened the IDN ccTLD application by the end of 2009. And the most recent update is ICANN approved application catbook for new GTLD. So the new IDN GTLD will be open early next year. So what kind of role APTLD played in IDN? Where actually APTLD is Asia Pacific Top-Level Domain Association. We are one of the 4 regional organizations for ccTLD managers. Basically, we provide a forum to discuss policy matters affecting internet domain name related So our role has been, in IDN since our region is the most affected region in IDN. So we're the major advocate on IDN. And also, APDLD has participated all the IDN ccTLD policy development process. Also, we're doing closely follow-up ongoing development, IDN policy development. As Bahar already mentioned, there are two IDN CCPDP working group. I think, both were leading by the APTLD members. And also, there's a joint CCSO and the GSO IDN working group. And also the VIP variants working group going on. So we're doing the closely follow-up. And definitely, we're constantly, get together to discuss IDN issues, and our members share their IDN experience together, because IDN is always a hot issue in our region. The current IDN status in AP region, because Bahar already, went through this topic already. Currently, there are 30 ccTLD strains in the root. I think probably over 90% actually are from AP region. Also, there are a bunch of ccTLDs strains still in the process. Most of them also in our region. So that's why our members also gather constantly to share their experience. At the very beginning, even the fast track, before the even fast track application start, we shared our experience on application on our IDN ccTLD application, and then later on, once the ccTLD IDN ccTLD launched, we shared our the challenge, the successful experience together. Even Russia joined us because I guess because of the IDN. So the last topic I'm going to touch is, of course, the most important one is the challenge we're facing ahead. For the IDN ccTLDs, I think the most important issue right now is how to promote their IDN ccTLDs, how to get more recognition of their IDN strains. And also, another issue is the competition from the IDN GTLDs, because IDN GTLD are going to be launched next year. So ccTLD managers already start to have the discussion how to face the IDN GTLD introduction. And also the IDN ccTLD membership, ICANN, CCSO in ICANN has this issue. Actually, our regional organization also have this issue. Should we, treat the IDN ccTLD as the same as ASCII ccTLD? If that's going to be same, how many votes, they should have. For example, like if India has 6 IDNs, should they have 6 votes, or it's going to be 1 vote together, or even just one country 1 vote, because with all the IDN introduction, everything is going to be changed. Even the difference between the ccTLDs and GTLDs, is going to be blurred, because currently, by definition, 2-character in ASCII, 2-character code is reserved for ccTLDs. All the GTLDs has to be 2-character more, but with the IDN introduction, even in IDN ccTLDs, they could have, more than 2 characters. For example, like Singapore, in Chinese, that their IDN ccTLD will be 3 characters. So that's the issue we're facing. And also, because IDN introduction, the WHOIS database, need to has the attention to adopt the IDN. So from the policy perspective, there's some common issue from both ccTLDs and the gTLDs. One is, important issue is length of IDN TLD strains. As I mentioned, currently in ASCII, 2-character code is reserved for country code, and gTLD has to be 2-character more. Should we open the application for IDN gTLD for single character or 2-character gTLD? That is one of the issue, because in many languages, actually a single character word and the 2-character word has a perfect meaning. And also the variance issue, Behar already mentioned that before. That's also included the gTLD application, also the registration policy. What kind of registration policy you should have to handle the variance, and also the management in the root zone. And the third big issue is universal acceptance for IDN, because not all the application right now could accept IDN. That's from many layers actually, from the application layer, from the network infrastructure, also involve the ISPs, browsers, and the DNS lookup tools, even from the registrars level. So we actually were having a big discussion of this issue, how to make IDN, more accepted by all the levels. So here list, current working group, led by APTLD members. Of course, there's more, during in ICANN, as Behar mentioned. So actually, that's pretty much it for me for today. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, Jian. Again, we'll come back to you, and I have some questions, and perhaps we can get some questions from the audience as well when we get to that part. Let's move on to Irina. Irina Danielia, is with the Coordination Center for the .ru TLD, and she's with the Policies and Procedures Development. She joined the Coordination Center in February of 2010. And her current responsibilities include policy and procedures development, as well as everyday operations. Irina also took an active part in launching the I guess this is ROFI, but it's really RU in IDN. Irina has 12 years of experience in the telecommunications industry, and her accomplishments include establishing and increasing nationwide sales and distribution of mass market internet products, managing complex business development and marketing projects. So we're here to hear from you about .ru in IDNs.
Thank you very much, Ram. I'll just follow the topics which Mohammed defined for our presentations. So, .ref is almost one year old today, and but the idea of having an IDN ccTLD and ccTLD in Russian language appeared long before, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, discussing should we have second level domain names under .ru or ASCII ccTLD. Already at that moment we decided that okay, now we better apply for and get and push for the top level Cyrillic domain, because Cyrillic really matters for Russian people. there are a lot of people in the world who speak Russia. It's like 300 million people, and 160 million people consider Russian as their native tongue. From the other side, not that many Russian people know English. Well, sure, many of us have learned it at school, but it doesn't mean that we really speak it and we feel comfortable with it. Also, I remember when I just started to use internet, most of the content was in English. Now, all the internet, well, a lot of internet content is in Russian, and Russian people mostly serve this Russian content. And when they want to address these web resources or create their own, they definitely are trying to use their words from their native language. But, for example, hedgehog, nice animal, yeah. In Russian it sounds ежик. But there are at least 6 or 7 different ways how you could write it with Latin language, using Latin letters. So it's just inconvenient. So there was the real desire and the real wish, and there was luckily very good governmental support for this idea. So please, could we move to the next slide? So we were one of the first 4 countries who got the string approved and inserted in the DNS route in the spring of the 2010. And we started the priority registration of the domain name even before that, because, well, we were sure we will get our .rf IDN. So we started to gather a request for the Sunrise registration even earlier, and we launched the open registration on November 11 of 2010. So it was like 10 months ago, and we were impressed with the figures. It's really boomed. We got more than 200,000 registrations in the very first day. And we are very close to 900,000 today, as you can see on the graphs. And we have pretty good renewal rates currently. Definitely, these are domains which we are registered during Sunrise, during priority registration period, but like 94% of them are renewed currently. Next slide, please. So also, if we have ability to compare the IDN domain figures and statistics with the .ru ASCII domain, and we see that it's pretty the same distribution of the domain names registered by individuals and organizations. Like our domain, mostly individuals register domains in Russia, or at least the domain name holder are recognized as individuals according to registry database. And what we also are glad to see that people not only registered domain in .rf, but they do really use them. The quantity of delegated domains is constantly growing, and we see a lot of examples of the real usage of these domains in advertising, for example. The Cyrillic domain names are really used, and just in the street you look at the billboard, for example, like real estate promoting the houses, and the website of this company will use the Cyrillic domain name. Next slide, please. We also did some pretty interesting linguistic analysis, comparing like the lengths of domain and how many figures are there, and we see that on average ASCII and Cyrillic domain names have the same 8 letters, but in average Russian Cyrillic domain names are a little bit longer. Also, most of the domain names consist of 2 words, written together or written with a hyphen in the middle. But some of them are longer, consist of 3, 4, and even more words. And here are a couple of funny examples how what you can see as a domain name registered in Russia. It's just translation for you. Next slide, please. We also got recently a very interesting statistical tool that gave us ability to do more complicated analysis, and we got, for the first time, we got data of how the domain names are really used. And we can see that of the delegated domain names in .rf, like half of them lead to websites, yeah, or to immediately or through redirects, but like half of our Cyrillic domain names, which are delegated domain names, are websites. Yeah, next slide, please. So the challenges. Definitely, the main challenge was that despite we have been running .ru TLD for 15 years, still IDN and launching new IDN TLD was a terra incognita for us. Nobody in the world had that experience by that moment. So we tried to foresee what could be the potential risks and abuses, but doing something you never can foresee everything. So, and luckily we have not had much problems regarding technical side of implementations. That worked pretty well, and we haven't had any real troubles. But we had a lot of troubles with terms and conditions and rules and procedures, with all this like administrative paperwork around. Like for the sunrise period, we decided that not only trademarks should get the priority, but also we decided to give the ability to register domain name for mass media and for company name holders. And immediately we saw that some clever people are registering electronic media, for example, just with the reason to get a good domain name, or are registering a company with a very strange long name, but the abbreviation, as you can see here, also gives you a very good common word, which definitely many people would like to have this domain name, like Vesa, for example. Yeah. Also, we had a very long and tough discussion about the open registration model. Our original idea was to run the Dutch type of auction. And we actually did a lot of work around that and developed a full set of documents describing the process. But lately, this idea was declined. And we went to like open model with just flat, low price. And however, we considered potential risks and made attempts to manage these risks. And some of these attempts were successful, some not, because after that we got a very big scandal around one of our registrar malpractice case. And this returned us back to reconsidering terms and procedures, and we are working on the next updated version of registration rules and terms and procedures for .rf. And it's like 6 months work already, and we are close to this end. So it's just constant work, and when you see what you missed and you find it and you try to improve it, and then in the next month or week you see that, okay, you need more improvements and more efforts and more steps. But from the other side, I think it's normal. It's like usual process. You can never be perfect and never can be ideal. Another challenge, I think, is now in the area of the end user experience. Because, okay, great, people can register domain names in their native languages. The browsers work with these domains more or less good. It's like most of the browsers issues, browser behavior issues are solved. But there are email issues, which everyone knows, and still the Cyrillic domain names is not recognized like a URL by a lot of web applications, including Facebook, Twitter, and Word as well. So next slide, please. However, we believe these challenges will, these issues will be solved, and the IDNs definitely will have a great future. And in our case, talking about the factors of success, first of all, is definitely that Cyrillic really matters for Russian people, and the ability to have domains in national language is a matter of national self-identification, definitely. Then, we just have a big market. So we have a lot of internet users, we have a lot of broadband connections, and this is definitely a driver for, now can we return back please, for the domain market. Then the selected string itself, the .ref, it's not an official abbreviation for Russian Federation, but it's so common, it's so like obvious that it's really good and easy to remember and easy to understand. Also, what was really important and what I think was one of our can be called one of our best practices is that we did this project not alone as a registry, but we did it in a team, and we got a real support from the government, from the businesses, from internet community. We had a big awareness campaign, not only direct advertising, but, well, we had a very good direct advertising campaign, but we also had a support and wide discussion about that, and which helped us to create awareness, and which really pushes the domains forward, still pushes forward, and, well, it will be 1 year old soon. We'll see. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Irina. And that's actually pretty amazing success in less than a year's time, almost 1 million domain names in RF. That's a clear indication of the nascent demand in your marketplace that your solution is actually directly addressing. And I think that has very good lessons for other cultures, other languages in the rest of the world. Let's move to Suleiman. Suleiman Baksh is a senior ICT analyst with the Telecommunication Regulation Authority in the United Arab Emirates in UAE. As a project manager and technology analyst, Suleiman supervises and manages projects in the areas of policy development, comparative analysis, and benchmarking. Suleiman is also actively involved in all various internet technologies, telecommunications, market advancements, cybersecurity, and internet governance. And he has been representing the UAE in various international telecommunication union meetings and conferences such as the IPv6 working group and the WSIS annual conferences. So without further ado, Suleiman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ram. Appreciate it. And I do thank ICT Qatar for holding this session, bringing everybody here to exchange expertise and information on the IDNs. And I also would like to thank ICANN to make this remarkable historical milestone of launching and approving on IDNs. I have a presentation here. Before I start, the registry for .ae, ccTLD, and ccIDN for .imarat is .ae Domain Administration, which is part of the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority. I'm here, I'll be talking on behalf of them. I'll try to convey the message through the presentation. Of course, I've seen already a presentation from Russia, which is very successful case study, to be honest. We'll go through the presentation. We do have some challenges here that I would like to highlight somewhere in the end of the presentation. The presentation starts with some kind of a background. I guess, I believe that most of the people are already aware of the world population, and the language distribution is like a quarter of the whole world population speaks somehow English or Latin scripts, and the rest are non-Latin scripts. Here you do see a need for including these people to use the internet to access such a content. And from there, if you could move on. Arabic is 7th most common language on the internet, with an estimated 60 million Arabic language users online. And now if you look at the population of the UAE, which is around 8 million, there is also a demand for the language. We do use Arabic and English in our communications, whether it's business, government, and the rest. The Google search for the word Arabic, this is a little bit old, which was somehow in May or June, 330 million results. And for the word Imarat is around 12,600,000 words. These are just some kind of high-level facts of .imarat. Of course, this is already known. The first website domain name has been launched in Arabic was khalifa.imarat. It was somewhere in May 2010, successfully. So there was no more guessing with the IDNs now. There's no like Khalifa or Khalifa, whatever in Arabic. And with the variants project, we were able actually to uniquely identify a site or domain name, and khalifa.imarat was an evidence to that. Carry on, that one. Of course, the IDN breaks the language barrier that has been seen by many. I mean, how many Arabic users know the word cabinet means Majlis al-Wazara, which is again the cabinet? If you check, I mean, the more educated population in the UAE would access and use the keyword in English, but now you have the facility, you have the ability to use the Arabic characters to search for example, for UAE cabinet, Majlis al-Wazara.imarat. Okay, you can skip that one, okay. As you already know, this the UAE.imarat IDN was the first 4 IDNs that was approved and actually have seen the light of the day, and it's already been there and it's already launched. You will see the phases of the launch in the next kind of slides. So from benefit point of view, of course, as already been mentioned, it's a national identity. There's a national interest to have an IDN. Beside that, we do see that it will enhance businesses branding kind of thing. It does complement with the current ccTLD, which we have .ae. It is not like really competing with the ccTLD currently having it. It will open access to internet to more Arabic speakers. It will be like an enabling environment for people to publish Arabic content, since they can be searched for and reached by the Arabic population, Arabic-speaking people. It will strengthen global recognition of your brand by registering your domain name in Arabic script. And this slide is basically regarding the variants. I don't want to go through that. It's already been stated. Most of the people already know about that. And these are a couple of examples of the domain names that have been registered, which is, this is an example of how the variants work. It's like if you register a domain, the rest will be reserved, so you can have your domain name uniquely identified. Which this one is actually Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority in Arabic, Hayat Abu Dhabi al-Siyaha. The variants, definitely, as we already mentioned. We are using the registrar model, which is kind of excellent model to register domain names. AEDA is the domain name administration, the registry. We have registrars which are interfacing with the client, and that's just more of like a high-level diagram of the model. Looking back to the history of getting the IDN approved, of course, it went through the processes which are already known: string preparation, string evaluations, and the string delegation. And the preparation took around a year for the IDN, and it saw the light of the day in May 2010. Now, the current status for the IDN is basically we are in the land rush for premium names. We were over with the Sunrise trademarks. I would say we had more expectations on the domain name that's supposed to be registered basically in the last, let's call it in the Sunrise phase basically. I mean, if you notice the first phase from the government, all governments are registered. It was bi-directional communication. We had to outreach them, and we had requests from the government also. The Sunrise trademarks, we had to work with some kind of, we had to work closely with the registrars, to be honest, and somehow outreach also. But to be honest, maybe it's not up to that expectation, and we'll come to the reasons now. And since we are in the land rush phase, if you just go back, sorry, one second. The land rush phase will be over somewhere by 3rd of October. And the real challenge actually will be after the 3rd of October, when we have the open registration for the first come, first served. Since the way to measure your IDN, it's successful or not, is the number of registration and the usage, as already been identified by our previous panelists here, and the great analysis that's been done on the usage part. So the challenge will be obvious after the 3rd of October, after we open the registration to everybody. Dr. Imarat government, that's more of like just a snapshot on what domains have been registered. Some of the challenges, just summary of the challenges, it could be somehow a summarized version of whatever has been discussed already here. It's part of it goes on the awareness side, is that as AEDA, we have already been involved with awareness, billboards, newsletters, whatever, but had that been enough to get enough momentum for registration? Was not up to the level, up to the expectations for IDN registration. We have already mentioned that we will require applications that support the IDNs, and one of them was for the emails. And actually, coincidentally, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I was checking the same kind of an issue and found out that there's someone who have already developed a solution for the emails. I don't know, may I state that, Ram? Yeah, it's actually from affiliates, actually. They have the email product that supports IDN, and I would leave this for Ram to elaborate on that. It will be good information to be shared with the rest of the audience, basically. Of course, the other challenge is the Arabic content on the internet. How much of Arabic content we have in the UAE? How much is it outside of UAE? Are we really searching for Arabic content? Would the English will be sufficient? We have noticed that, of course, you need to develop more Arabic content. It's still, the ways to do that is not clear, although you have already established an enabling environment, which is to register Arabic domain names. But I think we need to go back and push in other direction to have some kind of another emphasis on the Arabic content now to complement the domain names in Arabic also. We have also observed something like internet user behavior, the keyword search. And I mean, the keyword search, I don't have analysis here, to be honest, like a report or something, but the keyword search mainly used in English. I mean, this is where the user need to know that yes, you can use Arabic words now in the main top search engines to search for your site, for your content on the internet. And the last one, which I've stated here as IDN launch phases, Sunrise, Land Rush, Go Live. What I mean here is actually the planning. Now, when you have your IDN been approved, you have to have like some kind of really proper planning, and there will be no issue if you want to extend, let's say, your Sunrise period, because you really need to capture the trademarks. You need to communicate with somehow copyright agencies also in that matter, if it's even required. you need to have a plan going along in parallel with the marketing to get these companies understand that there is a business branding also when you have an Arabic domain name. Of course, we don't forget that the registrars has also a key role in actually taking that message of value. You have a value in your Arabic domain name, and you have to register an Arabic domain name. These registrars have that kind of facility because they are interfacing with the customers that eventually also use it and maintain it. I mean, now if you look at how IDN could be successful, you have the technical part, which we didn't really have an issue, and that's because we are already, as a registry, maintaining the .ae. Operation sides, there were no kind of issues. We had unified policies for .ae and .imarat, also, although there were some variations, like dispute policies for .ae and .imarat. So it made things easier when you have a unified framework of policies. The marketing thing, yes, we have invested in that part. Maybe we need to do more. We need to do extra collaboration, coordination with registrars and other key entities. So I'm just trying to state some challenges, and I think within the discussion, deliberations, we could come up with even best practice that we can all learn from. Thank you very much.
Suleiman, thank you. And for those of you who don't know, the UAE has been involved in the Arabic speaking region for quite a while, and has actually hosted several meetings in the past on actually growing the awareness and the knowledge of the use of the Arabic script inside of the region. So thank you to the UAE for that work, and for the TRA for that work in the past. Next on, we have Tanya Ling from CNIC, the China Internet Network Information Center. Tan has been active in the ICANN community and the area of internet governance. In 2008 and 2010, Tan was heavily involved in the IDN policy development process in ICANN on behalf of CNIC and the Chinese community. Tan has participated also in the application and the delegation process of the Chinese IDN ccTLD.China. Tanya Ling also serves on the board of the Asia Pacific Top-Level Domain Name Association, APTLD. Tan, over to you.
Thank you, Ram. And actually, previous speakers has give us very much knowledge about the importance of IDNs. So I'll just go straight to our point and give you an update of .China. First, let's go over a look of the internet users in China. Actually, right now it stands at around 485 millions. And this is only 1/3 of our total population in China. So that means we still have a big potential to go. And at the same time, there still shows there are the rest of the potential internet users will have much more difficulty than current internet users to have access to the internet if the content or the domain names are written in just English characters. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, just a recent update of our .China registration number right now is around 338,000. And I'd like to make a remark here because variant issue is a very serious issue for Chinese characters, for Chinese language. Among of the IDN names, we calculated there are only 22% of them have no variant issues. Or in other words, there are almost 70% of them have variant issues. What is variant? Actually, this term is coined by the Chinese internet communities. The variant for Chinese language is that two characters with the same meaning, but just with a slight difference on the writing or on the form of the characters. Due to the evolution in the history of the Chinese character, we currently commonly used two sets of writing sets. One is simplified Chinese, another set is traditional Chinese. Both of them have the same meaning, but with one with more strokes in the characters, the other with less stroke in the characters. So that's a big issue for Chinese language characters. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. We provide with WHOIS service, and okay, I think this is too technical. Let's move on to the next slide. Oh, I'd like to show you right here is that, you see, if you register IDN.China, we give you a show of all the variant forms of these domain names. For example, if you query a domain name like Li Xiaodong.China, Li Xiaodong is the name of a person, and we'll give you all the list of the variant forms of these same domain names. You probably could tell, or cannot, I'm not very sure, the difference between these two, these different forms of the domain names. So currently, we provide with all the forms is shown on the WHOIS query. Okay, next slide. According to our statistics, there's a big hike on our WHOIS query on .China, and in fact, it was due to one of our registrars are trying to do some cyber scoring things. So they, at the launch of .China, they frequently use WHOIS query to check which one is still available for registration, and looks like we notified this registrar to stop such activities. So it looked the WHOIS query just slowed down to normal levels after that. Okay, this is our resolution platform. We have got about 6 nodes domestically and 3 nodes internationally. We are hoping to expand our nodes to around 15 next year, and in the next 3 years, we're hoping to expand our nodes to 25. Okay, next slide. This is an interesting slide, because this shows the real use of Chinese domain names, also the variant forms of them. And okay, okay, the green line shows the total resolution from .China, and you can take a notice that the red line is traditional Chinese, traditional .China, and which is actually a little bit lower than the simplified Chinese, but it still shows that it's in use. And on the next slide, I'll give you more detail. Okay. On this side, you can see the left column shows this is a simplified Chinese. Of course, most of the query comes from mainland China, but on the left column, the variant.China query, you can take notice, almost 26% of the query comes from the United States. And according to our statistics, more overseas users use traditional Chinese.China, and domestically we prefer to use simplified Chinese. So this is very interesting, because okay, this is a long history, because our mainland China use simplified Chinese, but the other part of the world mainly use traditional Chinese. So that shows the difference here. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is a chart show our top 10 resolved domain names. The left column is simplified Chinese, and the right column is traditional Chinese. Actually, there's this quite interesting differentiation between these two things. For simplified Chinese, we got all the we got these resolved names are mostly have a direct or indirect link with business or some website portals. But on the right side of the traditional Chinese website, most queries are querying for the government organizations or some public institutions. Looks like there's nothing to do with the economic things. This is quite interesting. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Currently, we have got all the mainstream support from the internet browsers, but there are some small problems for them. Let's move on. Okay, this comes from Firefox. When I query, when I input xinlan.zhongguo, this Xinlan is the most famous news portals in China. When I input this word in Firefox, it gets a correct show on the address bar. But when we use the same query, the same query at Chrome, it shows with this accent dash thing. Looks like it comes with a strict technical answer, but there's no human answer to to the queries. This is a big a small program for the show on the address bar. With regard to the challenges for IDNs, I mean the most severe challenge for us is a technical challenge. Like I said, is the variant and also the showing of the other applications. Actually, we have been working with ICANN and with RAM on the Chinese variant issues. Because without these issues to be properly addressed, there might be a serious phishing attacks. Because we regard this simplified and traditional as the same meaning, the same word, but technically on the internet, this has two different, A labels. So that if this is going to be used without any mechanism for the variant, there should be some serious phishing attacks. Another challenge is the challenge of adoption. Actually, this question has been raised in the past years, not only from end users, but also from our technical communities. Is there real interest or real use from end users? Because when we come to .China adoption, the registration number of .China is only 1/10 of .cn, the ASCII.cn. So the question is that, is the people interested in this? And I've got a very interesting remark the other day at a ABTLT meeting from Kim Nam-chung of Korean. The guy is a Korean internet pioneer. He really doubt the adoption and the real use of IDNs. Since his argument is that since we have got search engines like Google, like the Bing, what does we need to use the IDNs? Because this is hard to input, hard to very limited application and very limited technical support. And what do we use that? My personal think on this is that this might not be of interest for our technical savvy or English savvy internet users, because we have quite familiar with the English typing, but it may make sense for non-English users. That's a figure. At the beginning of the .cn using in 1997, almost 89% of internet users have education of tertiary education or above. But nowadays, in 2010, among all the internet users, there's only 23% of internet users with high-level education. That means, not to mention, there are still a huge chunk of population without access to the internet. This may be a very big stone for the potential internet users. I think if this could serve a purpose to facilitate the access to the internet, that should show the true value of IDNs. I think I'm not finished yet. Okay, so bearing these challenges in mind, we're going to further our technical work in these three aspects. One is the EPP extension. We're trying to create the command to fit in the use of IDNs. Also, we're going to address variant issues. This is because this is a cultural and linguistical thing, and we have to face it. And the third thing is the WHOIS extension, because currently the WHOIS is only ASCII-based. We're trying to figure out how to present the internationalized WHOIS data. And currently we're working with ICANN to get community consensus on this WHOIS query sharing thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to keep an eye on time, we have about 10 minutes or so scheduled for the session, and we haven't gone through all of our speakers. So I'll ask Muhammad to keep that in mind when he speaks. I still hope to spend a few minutes getting some questions and having a little bit of participation from you. So I'm hoping we have a few minutes that we can go beyond the 4 o'clock stop time. Mohammed Al-Bashir is the manager of numbering and internet domains for ICT Qatar, and he joined ICT Qatar in 2008. And before joining ICT Qatar, Mohammed was actively involved with ICANN, and all the way from 2001, and has been working in the IDN area from the get-go. He was a founder and president of the Sudan Internet Society from 2001 until 2008. As a member of the ICANN IDN Guidelines Revision Working Group. That's actually where Mohammed and I first met each other. And was a member of the ICANN President's Advisory Committee on IDNs. Mohammed Al-Bashir was also elected Vice President of the African Top-Level Domains Organization. He served as a council member in the CCNSO at ICANN representing Africa, and was a member of ICANN Board at-Large Advisory Committee, the ALAC. So with that, over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Ram. I think my presentation will be maybe a minute or two. All my colleagues have explained the value proposition of IDNs and why we need IDNs. So I'll try to be as quick as possible so we have time for a group discussion. So basically, Qatar has requested the string, which is the country name, Qatar, in Arabic. The sponsoring organization requested the string on behalf of the country was ICT Qatar. That was done early in end of 2009. String has passed the ICANN evaluation process in March 2010. The string actually has been delegated in July 2010. January 2011, that actually the string has been delegated in the internet route. In July 2010, we started IANA delegation process for the new IDN. So basically, Qatar's Domains Registry is a branding interface for ICT Qatar to manage the domain name registry. This entity that's responsible for developing and implementing domain name policies, operational of the registry itself, and being the regulator of the domain name space in Qatar. I think I will skip this slide. We all know why we need IDNs. IDNs are very important to bridge the digital gap and remove barriers for encouraging contents, multilingual contents. In our case, that's the Arabic language. We're using a registrar model to provide choice and competition to the market. So we are creating local and international registrars as well. Currently, we have about 10 registrars in total, 8 international who are working on domain names and branding and protection, and we have local registrars as well. From a user perspective, this is very important. As a registry, we have to ensure that we understand what our users are facing in terms of using IDNs. This is very important. And we have to understand their issues. We did a quick research among internet users, Arabic internet users in Qatar. We asked them a couple of questions. For example, one of the main questions was that, do they know that the internet is already changing? Do they know that IDN is already implemented? And luckily, I think we got a very good response. 73% they know that the internet's changed. They know that new domain names is already existing. So that was a good indicator. Then we went further and we did ask them to test accessing websites in Arabic under .qatar. And the response from that segment was almost 50-50. So 50% had their browsers were supporting and displaying Arabic domain names correctly, and 50% they had issues with their browsers which they did not display Arabic domain names correctly. We went into more details in that research in terms of identifying which browsers that has issues. With Arabic language is I can say complex, and I can say also not abbreviation friendly. So for example, in Arabic, we don't have the culture of having abbreviations, actually, I mean, used widely. So we did ask them about what their preference in terms of registering domain names. Do they prefer the long full name in the domain name of the entity, or they prefer the shorter name? And I think it's already clear, almost 86% preferred the shorter name instead of the long full name of the entity. And I think that's the pattern of the registration that we will see. We did ask them as well what are the main challenges from their side, and we did try to identify a couple of challenges. I can say that the majority say the main challenge is that they are familiar in terms of their adoption and use of IDN. They're already familiar with using English domain names. They have been in an education system that they know English. They can access domain content, Arabic content, using an English domain name. So that was one of the challenges they think that will face Arabic domain names. Web browser support was one of the issues that they identified. Using search engines, I think this is a very good point Tan already mentioned. I think the majority of them has clearly identified and said that search engines and using search engines might not make IDNs popular. Arabic words, they are longer, not easy to abbreviate. Not enough Arabic online content. That was one of the issues that they identified as a major constraint. But also the good thing is the majority agreed that those issues could be resolved. We did ask them also what motivates them to use Arabic domain names. And when we did this research, we are currently on the sunrise period, so we have a couple of already active domain names registered. So, and we showcased that to them. The main reason was that they want to preserve the Arabic language online, their identity online. That was one of the main issues and drivers for them for using Arabic domain names. Okay. I would like to emphasize also the importance of awareness and marketing. This is very important. We're talking about a domain names, a change happening for the first time in the internet, where they're able to access content using their own language. And their expectation is high, really. Their expectation is that they're able to use the domain name, they're able to even sometimes use emails. So we need to be very clear about the expectations. We need to have also a plan, some sort of a marketing strategy or plan. In our case, our marketing plan drive was being unique and associating that with the country, so the identity itself. So those are some of the messages that was on our marketing. As I said, we already have, currently we are in a sunrise period, a shorter sunrise period of 3 months. I think we're learning from other registries, from our friends in UAE. So we tried to shorter that sunrise period, and we tried to reach out to government and trademark holders as well. We will go to public availability on 18th of October. On this period, we're already showcasing some of the registration. This is a website of Qatar University, one of the websites that's has been using Arabic domain names. This is the government portal, one of the early registered Arabic domain names websites. This is ICT website. Basically, our website is also one of the, and we had also the register website in both Arabic and ASCII, which is domains.qa and nitaqat.qatar. The variant issue is the challenge. The same issue here. We have a group of Arabic characters who confirm a variance. Our approach was clearly from the beginning that we're going to bundle those, because really we have customer issue. The customer, they don't understand the impact of the variance issues. So currently we're bundling variants and to ensure that domain names are unique and registered safely, and to avoid confusion and issues like phishing. So that's in terms of variants. And the registrant could activate any of the variants as well. The challenges, I think we all, different registers agree on the challenges, browser issues. This is the same university website using Internet Explorer, and it's clear that the domain name is not displayed well in Arabic. Search engine applications, that's an important part really. We need to, I'm not sure the word incentivize or encourage those firms and companies to work actively in ensuring their applications are IDN friendly. This is clear example. When we got delegated, the Arabic domain name was not even on the search result in Google. And this is a recent snapshot. Now, Google is displaying Arabic domain names that have Arabic content. So there is progress going on now, and I'm sure there will be progress in the future. IDN emails, there's also some progress in that area. Social media is an area that still some of the main tools are lacking Arabic domain name support, like Twitter doesn't provide hyperlinks in Arabic. Mobile and tablets, that's an important element as well. So basically, the application side, that's very important. I think that's our experience in a nutshell, and we share the same challenges and we share the same hopes that we can make the difference through this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a really cool expression of what's going on in Qatar, and trying to bring that across as a global experience. Before we go to questions from the audience, I just wanted to, for the different members here, the speakers, I had just one question for each of you. So I'm just going to go through the question, give you a little bit of time to think about what your answer might be, and then go over to the audience. So let me start with Baher. Baher, what are ICANN's plans to increase the acceptance of IDNs as top-level domains in applications? We saw what Irina had mentioned, Facebook, Twitter, we saw Google, social media, etc. So what are ICANN's, what does ICANN see its role, and how does it think it can help on the increase the acceptance of IDNs? So that's your question. Jean, your question. You're looking at the Asia-Pacific region. Are you seeing commonality in policies when there are disputes about IDN registration ownership? If you look at ASCII English registrations, UDRP, for example, is used. Are you seeing something similar, a uniform way to dispute ownership of domain names? Is there any change, or do you think that the existing UDRP type of dispute resolution is sufficient? So what are your experiences from the region? Irina, I had several questions, but one of them, you had mentioned the measures of protection of final users' interests. You had said that in the original launch, you had found that there was it was not sufficient, some of the measures of protection, but in November you're going to roll out some new measures. I think it'll be useful what the rest of the world can learn from the RF experience there. Suleiman, you had spoken about the value of the registrar and registry model. What work was necessary to have your registrars actually support Arabic? Because they were supporting English before or ASCII before. What kind of work did you have to do to help them support Arabic? So that's what I have for you. Tan, for you, the one question that I thought would be useful, you have in China a unique implementation of simplified and traditional Chinese names. The registration goes to the same user. Is there any learning from that can be provided to the rest of the world? How you're doing it, and is there value in, because you're solving a variant type of an issue in an interesting and somewhat unique way. So that's a question for you. And Mohammed, for you, what was the most effective outreach measure when you rolled out IDNs in Qatar? You know, among the various marketing and other outreach measures, what was the most effective outreach measure? So that's a question each. Let's go to the audience for any questions. I see a hand there. I see Kuo Wei. I see Chuck, another there. So let me start with you, sir. Could you please identify yourself and then the question?
My name is Mohammed Borhan. I'm from the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I have two quick questions. If I understood correctly, IDNs would be allowed for individuals. So how can you prevent some sort of cyber squatting where a person can register his name and, for example, a presidential candidate with the same name would want this domain? The second question is, I can't imagine that this could pass without political implications and sensitivities. For example, there are some countries that refuse to even recognize the name of another country. Like, for example, you have Greece and Macedonia. You have Yugoslavia and Kosovo. You have Israel and Palestine. So how does ICANN or deal with this kind of sensitivity, and who decides?
Great. So the second question, I'm hoping, Bahir, you can answer. And for the first one, prevention of cyber squatting, I'm wondering if some of the CC members who've actually rolled it out, if you could speak to that. Irina, I know that you had some experience there.
Well, we actually had a list of the name of governmental organizations which were reserved in advance, and this included, for example, government and Kremlin and etc. This list did not include any names or surnames, but just without any special procedure around it, we just registered the name of the president and vice president. Just put it in the reserves, and that's all.
Yes.
I mean, back to the reserved list, to be honest, yes. I mean, before you launch it to the public, you do have to maintain such a list, and it's have to be some kind of extensive list. And not to forget your role of monitoring what's happening. And you have to also try to check it with any kind of like physical incidents happening around. Is any like things, new things happening up? You usually see the trend of domain name registry. That's the nature, to be honest. But yes, there's a reserved list on ongoing monitoring for such domain names, and these cases are kind of I mean, there are these cases available, to be honest, and need to be reviewed, need to be checked if they are really fulfilling the requirement, and if they are not really trying to clone other kind of names for businesses, stuff like that. So it's monitoring plus the reserve list, I guess.
Thank you. And Bahir?
Okay, in relation to the question on country names and how ICANN decides on this, so ICANN does not decide on any country names, in fact. There is one famous reference, the ISO 3166 list, which has all the country codes, the two-letter country codes, which ICANN use or have been using for ccTLDs. So whenever a country or territory gets its country code into the ISO 3166 list as per ISO's process, then they are eligible to apply to get their ccTLD delegated through the ICANN IANA process. Now, on the IDN front, it's the same base. ISO was one of the references that the IDN fast track process has used and implemented. And then when it comes to the names in specific languages, etc., first of all, governments through the Government Advisory Committee of ICANN were involved in the policy pertaining to the selection of country names. Second, one of the references that ICANN had used in the fast track process was also a UN document or manual that has country names in different UN languages. So ICANN has never, and will probably never, select or decide on any country names, but we refer to references and standards on this.
Thank you. Down in the back.
This is Guo Wei, and it's ICANN board. Actually, I'd like to mention to you about why the fast track is go to the ccTLD first. The reason is because, first of all, the variants are very difficult to resolve. Actually, the Cyanic just mentioned about the variant, his definition is called a traditional Chinese and the simplified Chinese, but actually it's not complete. Because in the Unicode, the 中国国 is more than 2 characters. You can find it in the Unicode. And so actually, this is the reason I go to the ccTLD, so you can minimize the difficulty, and at least you can launch the IDN since the community need it. So I think we should get, the IDN go first. And so in that case, you will find it eventually when the new GTLD, IDN new GTLD start to apply, we need to have some policy to working on the variant stuff. The reason is you can see in the previous, those of the ccTLD IDN implementation, they give the whole block of the variants to the single person. But are you sure that the future, the commercial guy come in, they are willing to give the whole block to a single person, or how to do it? This is a policy issue. And this is, as ICANN, I think we are welcome everybody to continue to discuss in the ICANN space. The second question I'd like to answer, some people asking about, like Kim Len Chong charging around, why you want to use the IDN or ASCII? I think that is, it's not, for me, it's not really a reasonable asking. The most shock to type in, or IDN is basically, you see, when the people using the IDN, basically is for local communities. Because if I don't understand this language, how I can use in this IDN domain name? So this is basically local. The local doesn't mean it's not important. Okay, the first of all. And I think eventually you will see that every institution, he will have 2 domain name, IDN and ASCII. The reason is if he wants to communicate with global, not only the local, he definitely need ASCII, right? Or the viewer cannot type their local language. But it's still valuable because somehow it's still important for the local community to using their own language to view it, So I think this is, to be fair, I think the IDN and ASCII is equal important. But the key point is, eventually the variant, we need to have a much better policy to resolve it. And I think in a ccTLD, it's much easier because you have experience to run a certain limitation, you know, like channels or Arabic. You give the whole block to a same person. And that might be we need to developing that, you know, because when you're thinking about if you have 3 characters, and the first character you have a 3 combination, the 2 character you have a 4 combination, the 3rd character you have another 2 combination. Multiply is a 24 combination. You're going to reserve 24 combination to single person, and it's a lot of work. And I think more than policy, we also need a technical resolution to solve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuwei. I saw a hand raised from this side. Yes, please, go ahead. Identify yourself.
Oh, my name is Elizabeth Orembo from the University of Nairobi. My question goes to the panelists from China. I was wondering, why would you want to use the traditional Chinese method and yet you're teaching simple Chinese method? And on the other hand also, statistics proves that your young people don't want to learn the traditional Chinese method. They want to continue with the simple one. And I think it will be so frustrating when we come across words that we can't understand, and yet you've spent some years learning the language, doing it. Like, yeah, that's the question, basically.
Thank you, Tan. That's for you.
In fact, I think there are some political reasons as well as some cultural reasons with regard to the use of both simplified Chinese and the traditional Chinese. But the thing that the mainland China trying to when the PRC was established in 1949. The main purpose of the central government is trying to get people literacy as soon as possible. So that's why they coined this simplified Chinese, and over time it's proved is feasible to eliminate the illiteracy among previously illiterate persons. So, but with the use of 40 years, there's still some, considerations or, let's say, considerations over the use of simplified Chinese. Because this is a very big concern on the Chinese culture. It's pose as a sort of a conflict or split of Chinese culture in terms of your using simplified Chinese. Because for the person using simplified Chinese, there's a problem for us to appreciate the traditional culture or traditional heritage which is written in traditional Chinese. In the meantime, apart from the use of simplified Chinese, there are still a large portion of Chinese community are using traditional Chinese, like in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, Macau, and other parts of the Chinese communities around the world. So that's why we are going to use both traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese at the same time to serve all the Chinese communities. This is our main purpose.
Thank you for that. Question from here.
Thanks, Rob. It's Andrew Mack from AM Global in Washington. Simple question. Small international firm, does consulting work, interested in multiple markets, and thus in multiple scripts, right? Are we going in the direction, can we go in the direction where a company would be able to buy, wants to work in Asia, can buy a slew of these as a package, or in one place even, because from a practical perspective, for me to go to 16 different jurisdictions is going to be really difficult, but I may really want to work with people in their own language. You've got to be really excited about the possibility. What could we do?
So two answers come to mind. For the ccTLDs, every one of them who has presented here has presented that the registrar-registry model is working really well. And in many cases, the registrars who are working for that language have the incentive, the economic and market incentive, to offer it in other languages if there are folks like you who want to buy bundles. So I expect that that's probably the direction it'll go.
Thanks, Ram. The board recently, the ICANN board recently made a decision delaying single character IDN TLDs in the case of GTLDs until the second round, which all of us think will be like 4 years out or more. I'm curious, for the different panelists representing different language communities, I would think that in your communities there may be organizations that would like to bid on IDN GTLDs in your respective scripts. How important is the use of single characters in that, in your opinion?
Jean, I'm wondering if you could provide one set of answers there, and perhaps, Mohammed, if you could provide another answer.
That's a simple one, but that's also a difficult one. Actually, for Chinese community, actually there's a big interest to open the single character IDN GTLD in Chinese, because many single character word in Chinese actually have meaning, independent meaning, and also for the two characters. I'm not sure, are they going to open the two character code? Okay. Yeah, so for the Chinese community, actually, there is big interest on opening for the single character.
Yeah, I think well, on the opposite side to the Chinese language community, it's very hard in Arabic to have a meaningful representation in one character, and I don't think that I don't think there will be a business interest. Sorry, if my voice was not clear. I was saying that it's very difficult to have a meaningful representation in Arabic using one character. And I don't think that also there will be a business interest to have a new GTLDs in Arabic in one character because it's not meaningful.
Thank you. Any other questions? I saw, Kuwei, your hand raised.
Can I comment about this one? I think a basic single character, of course, they have some advantage for certain language. Okay, for certain language. Because a single character, that means is less stroke, less typing. we are in the domain name industry, you know that less typing mean a lot. Okay, but from ICANN policy point of view, we cannot just focus on the single language because that would be unfair. We need to look, among the global language, in this sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuwei. I'd like to give each of the panelists just about a minute or so. You've had 10 minutes or so to think about the question that I had posed each one of you. So if we could start with you, Mohammed, and we'll just go through, and then I'll provide a few closing comments, and we'll wrap the session up.
Okay, I think from our experience, actually, we did a marketing plan. We are now starting implementing it. Direct communication to the entities, especially government entities, will ensure response. Using online definitely will make a major challenge. Try to use social media as well. Awareness. Try to reach to other stakeholders who could facilitate things. For example, universities to target students, or government ICT initiatives and programs to encourage governments. So there is no one effective way. So we have to think about the hybrid model of doing that.
Got it. So no silver bullet on promotions. Okay, Baher.
So the question was about ICANN's plan and working with application providers, etc., to further advance the implementation and use of IDNs. So the simple answer is, from my side, I'd have to defer to the IDN and UGTLDs team because I'm aware of some discussions that have been taking place with many like browser providers, etc. But I'm not aware of any plan per se. So I'd have to try to get you a more solid answer later on.
Thank you, and perhaps that answer could be included as part of the report that comes out as the end of this workshop. Jean.
For me, my question for me is nationality for, commonality for dispute system. As far as I know, most registry actually are using the same dispute system as ASCII.
Okay.
In the IDN.
Thank you. Irina?
So the question was about protecting customer interests. In our next version of registrations, terms and conditions, first we include the clear demand to the registrar to inform customer about all the details of the service, about pricing of the registrar's contact information, etc., etc. These actually demands are in the federal law, which protects consumers' rights. But we decided that this is important, and we better repeat this demand in our registration rooms terms and conditions. So our registrar has clearly informed in advance about all the details of the service. Secondly, one of the biggest abuses in .rf was about auctioning the domains, which was not officially allowed. However, having a few requests for a good domain name, like auto, for example, the registrar registered this domain name for itself. So registrar as an registrant are the same, and then resells it through the auction. We put a ban. If there is at least one request from the end user, registrar is not allowed to register domain for itself. It has to follow the request of the end user customer.
Thank you. Suleiman.
Yes, Ram. I mean, the question here was the value that will be perceived by the registrar. So in order for them to market for it, it's more of like a relation of registry and registrar kind of thing. I mean, in the case of ADA, we already had registrars available in our doors because of .ae, so it was easier for them to take the .imarat and market for it. But in terms of packaging or how they would value it, we haven't really intervened in their offers or packaging kind of thing, although this is a key element to solve a couple of the issues of awareness we have talked about. And we had already had some kind of a point regarding why not one portal that can give you registration for many other IDNs that could be looked at. But at the moment, there was no real clear involvement from the registry on the registrar's offerings kind of thing. They do registrars perceive a value, but the proceedings on how to market for it, it's up to the registrars up to this moment.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, my question is about the variant delegation of IDN ccTLD for China. And regarding the experience of this unique situation, I think CINIC has figured out at least two which could be used for other registries. The first one is a bundled policy for registration. The thing that we just put all the variant domain names under one registrant. This is our first step. And our second experience is that education for registrant and end users. We're trying to foster a culture or knowledge about a variant and the use of a proper use of the variant domain names. And I think we could go one more step further in the future. Like we could set up some sort of without a proper technical setting up of the variant domain names, we could like set up some resolution setting policies in this regard. I think which could be effectively help with the recognition and the using of variant domain names. I think without any IETF standards coming out. this could be a feasible way to do, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists and certainly to the audience for your questions. It's actually been a real pleasure to help moderate this session. I'm sorry we took a little bit longer than expected. What is clear for me at the end of all of this is that the technical challenges are more or less, in most areas, the technical challenges are, the era of technical challenges for IDNs is over. We are now in the era of user acceptance, of actual usability, and of applications starting to deploy IDNs in a good way. And this is, in many ways, kind of IDN 2.0, if you will. How do you actually get users to understand the value, and how do you get the application vendors to deploy IDNs in a way that is usable and that is accessible to the local populations. So we're moving into a different area. We're moving from technology type of issues to access and the ability to provide better access to the local communities. And this is squarely in the area that the IGF focuses on, that ICANN and other organizations focus on. So again, ICT Qatar and Mohammed, thank you for pulling us all together and shining a very good spotlight on an emerging area of developing deployment of IDNs. Thanks.